In Module 7, we're looking at invalid disk impair reports. Now, this is an advanced topic that is a lot of training that advisors go into to learn about how to read these reports. You might ask, how can an invalid report occur? There's a few instances where it can happen. As one example, it can happen when the candidate tries to trick the assessment, thinking that they can ensure that the report gives a better result. This doesn't work. It also can occur when the candidate has support, someone else helping them when they're completing the quiz. The other person's giving them tips or advice on what the right answers are to the quiz. Third instance that sometimes happens is where the person takes no care when completing the quiz. In other words, you might have a candidate that doesn't put value on the output, doesn't take any care, and just goes through and selects whichever answers they like. The fourth area is where the candidate is stressed out when they're completing the assessment. That is, they might be rushed for time, they might be concerned or threatened, or have some other concern they have in relation to completing the quiz. And the fifth area we sometimes see invalid reports is where the candidate has other issues outside work or at home. This could be psychological or physical, and as a result of that pressure, that has caused an invalid result. In summary, invalid reports are triggered when the person answers questions all over the place. They are answering some questions like they're a lion, others like they're a monkey, and then similar questions as if they're a turtle. Let me show you 4 examples of what an invalid report looks like. Up the top left, we have a mirror style. What we can see here is that both graphs are basically mirror images to one another. The second type of invalid report is what's known as a tight profile. It's where all the dots within one graph appear in the grey area. The third type of invalid report is when all the dots in one of the graphs appears above the line, above that 50% line. If you see all the dots appearing above the 50% line, you know that's an invalid report. And the last style is what's known as undershift. That's where all the dots on one of the reports appears below the line. On the screen you can see an actual example of an invalid report, and we can see that there's both overshift and it's also tight profile. So all the dots are within the grey area. So that's an invalid report. Couldn't stress more that an invalid report is of no use. There is no use coaching a person on a report that's invalid. So what should we do if we see an invalid report? The best thing to do is just to simply mention to the candidate that there's been an issue with their report due to how they've completed it, and suggest that they recomplete the assessment at a later date. They may open up to you as to something that's occurred during the completion. For example, that someone was giving them a hand or they felt rushed. Either way, you can give them some advice and say, let's avoid that issue next time we complete the report.